welcome everybody to this Christmas Eve episode of the
Geek Buddies.
Hey!
Ho, 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 ho.
That's the perfect 2020 ho ho ho, I think. Yeah. We are excited to be back with you again this week. This is a pre-recorded show this week as we get ready for the holidays. We hope we find you in a good place this holiday season. And for those of you who we may find not in the best place this holiday season, maybe watching us today will pick up your spirits a little bit as we talk about all the stuff or most of the stuff going on in the world of geek news entertainment. I am one of your hosts. I am the outlaw, John Rocha, joined as always by these two gentlemen to my right. I think I just see on the screen. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's like me watching Tenet. I was like, I think so. I gotta think about backwards. Yes, I am Michael Vogel, the guy to the right. I am a writer and producer of animated TV shows and movies, and a confused Tenet viewer, apparently.
And this is Shannon McClung. I'm an animation writer and a television actor where you may have seen me on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Silicon Valley, and Teen Wolf, where I was the furthest on the right in all three shows. Couldn't have planned that.
That's awesome. We are going to get into some stuff here today. For those of you who are new, thank you so much for taking the chance on the Geek Buddies and coming aboard. We picked up a lot of you through our Mando reviews, so thank you so much. Our Mandalorian finale review is over 12,000 views. Thank you to Laura Kelly who joined us for that, and thank you to all of you who've watched it so far. If you haven't watched it yet, definitely watch our reviews of The Mandalorian. We did one for every episode throughout the season, and we'll be picking up with WandaVision starting next month. And we've got a special guest. I'm not going to announce it yet till it's 100% official. A special guest will be joining us as well to review all 6 of those episodes of WandaVision. We just confirmed it today, but we don't want to announce it just yet. We'll let you know very, very soon. We've also got a Wonder Woman review coming this weekend and a Pixar Soul review coming this weekend as well. So look out for that. We may have special guests on that. We don't know yet, but we're certainly planning to do that as well.
Is one of the special guests Santa?
He's here. I know him. I don't
know. He smelled of beer and cheese last time. Beef and cheese. But yeah, we're going to get into, for those of you who are new, as I said, for those of you coming back, thanks so much for staying aboard the Geek Buddy train. What we do is each of us takes a geek news item. We discuss it amongst ourselves, take a little bit of a break, and jump into our main topic. And our main topic today is that whole Luke Skywalker debate. No spoilers until we get to that discussion. But when we get into that discussion, we will be having some spoilers there. I didn't mention where he showed up. I didn't mention whether. That is a non-spoiler Luke Skywalker reference. We will getting into the history of Luke Skywalker in our main events.
Let us unearth the controversy from 1987.
Absolutely. We're going to get into all of that. So, and based on the Scott Mendelson article on Forbes, who was one of my friends, and I've known him for a while, both in and out of that job. So it's going to be an interesting thing to talk about for sure. But let's get into it. Gentlemen, are we ready?
I was born ready. Ho, ho, ho.
I like it. All right.
I've been wrapping presents all morning. I watched Muppet Christmas Carol. I'm highly caffeinated. Like, I am ready to rock.
Oh, you don't say.
Well, I mean, the first thing we need to talk about, speaking of Star Wars, is the Book of Boba Fett. It was announced a couple of days after the Mandalorian 2 season finale. Apparently, there was some confusion. There is a post-credit scene at the end of the Mandalorian season 2 finale that announced essentially that a new series is coming called the Book of Boba Fett. This will be coming December 2021 on Disney Plus. There was some confusion. People were saying, hey, maybe that means the Mandalorian season 3 is called the Book of Boba Fett. Certainly Favreau back in April had been talking about a Mandalorian season 3. So people were wondering if that was the situation, because like it says the Mandalorian, it doesn't necessarily mean the Mandalorian has to be Din Djarin. It could be anybody. It just says the Mandalorian. So were they going to change to it to be a Boba Fett story? Well, Disney Plus cleared that up by issuing a press release and a tweet, essentially confirming that Book of Boba Fett will be a separate spin-off series occurring during the same timeline as The Mandalorian, so there could be crossover potential, and that Fennec Shand will be a part of this series as well. And he is taking, and it'll be set on Tatooine, and all of that. So first of all, let's and it'll start Tamora Morrison back as Boba Fett as well, and Ming-Na Wen obviously as Fennec Shand. So Mike, I go to you first on this one. What was your reaction to A, that post-credit scene, and B, finally Disney clarifying that 2 separate shows are going to be happening here? Oh, and by the way, sorry, one last thing, Mandalorian got pushed to later as well. This will be December 2021, and then Mandalorian season 3 will come out sometime in 2022. So I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Are we allowed to talk about the post-credit sequence?
I think we have to, because that's what this is.
Okay, so hey, if you haven't watched it yet, hit pause, go watch it, come back. I'll still be wearing the hat. All right, welcome back. Yeah, I thought it was great. The post-credit sequence, I had heard that there was going to be a post-credit sequence. I had no idea what it was. And then the ending of Mandalorian wrapped up so fully and so satisfyingly to me. I was like, what could possibly come next? And the second that we saw Jabba's palace, I flipped out because to me, as a little kid, I don't remember apparently my parents took me to see Star Wars when I was like first born. They took me to a drive-in theater in a baby seat. I vaguely remember my dad taking me to Empire, but for me, Return of the Jedi was like the Star Wars movie that I remember seeing in the theater, and Jabba's palace like blew me away. I wanted every toy, I wanted every character, so just seeing it on screen was great. Seeing the return of Bib Fortuna, also great. Dude had I was wondering, like, do you have to gain a lot of weight to sit on Jabba's thing, like Jabba's little throne there, because he had really put on the pounds. But yeah, Boba coming in, Fennec Shand, kind of taking out Bib Fortuna and sitting in it, like, it was great. The Book of Boba thing came up. And here's what I'm actually really excited about is as far back as when Lucasfilm and Disney were going to do all of those sort of standalone movies, like when Solo came out and they were like, and there's going to be a Lando and there's going to be a Boba Fett. Like, as a fan of Boba Fett, I was intrigued. Like, is this going to be a prequel? Are we going to kind of see him earlier? Are we going to see him out of the Sarlacc? But it was in a vacuum. It was like, Boba Fett's interesting to me, but I have no idea what this is going to be. Whereas now, because of his appearance in this season of Mandalorian, we kind of get a little bit more context of like where he's at, who he is as a person now, where we're picking up. And by having that post-credits sequence set at Jabba's palace, it really does seem like this is going to be dealing with the underworld of Star Wars, the scum and villainy part of Star Wars. So we know that Mando season 3 is going on. That's probably going to be dealing with Mandalorians. We know we have the Ahsoka series that's going to deal with Force and Jedi stuff. We've got the Rangers of the New Republic dealing with sort of the governmental side, I guess, of the Star Wars universe. But with Fennec and Boba, we've got that whole underworld. And, with Jabba the Hutt being choked out at the end of Jedi, there's a gap in the underworld of the galaxy. And if Boba's going to try and fill that gap, that's a pretty intriguing and awesome story to me.
Yeah, Shannon, it seemed like Bib Fortuna put on, he had a little bit of the COVID weight going on there, man, maybe the virus had hit Tatooine as well at some point. So, it's
the COVID-20 on Tatooine.
And by the way, for anybody who might get a little upset, I know that for me, I have struggled with my weight in my life. I've been heavier. So this is something we can talk about, and we're not fat shaming in any way, shape, or form. But like I go to, that Fat Thor thing became a whole debate, but I don't want it to happen here. Shannon, George Lucas, there had been, plans for an Underworld series on ABC. They had wrote a bunch of scripts. Do you think this is a way kind of backdoor these stories into this Boba Fett series here?
100%. I totally agree with Mike that this is the way to kind of lurk in that realm of scum and villainy that especially like episode 4 was so prevalent, like going in and you see all these rogues, all these kind of shady characters in the Mos Eisley Cantina. I think that's going to be awesome. And knowing what Boba Fett has kind of gone through, I'm like, I think we probably will find out maybe in flashback, like, okay, how exactly did you get out of this? Like, we figured you got out. Jawas took your armor, and then you kind of made buddies with the Tusken Raiders. But this is a guy who's like, wow, these people who maybe I thought were kind of my associates left me for dead. And so this is a guy who's a little ticked off now. And I know they said the show was going to be set on Tatooine. I highly doubt it'll stay on Tatooine. I think this is a guy who has a vendetta, who is going to be going out and basically reclaiming what was his. And Tamora Morrison just was so much fun to watch in The Mandalorian. It was so satisfying just to see Boba Fett kick all the ass. We get to see it for the first time rather than hear about it.
Yeah. Well, and you look, and I wonder with this, Mike, I get your thoughts on this. Fennec Shan and Boba Fett said they were committed to helping the Mandalorian save his child. That does not mean, or Baby Yoda, Grogu, whatever you want to say, but that does not mean they're necessarily good people overall. They're bounty hunters. They do their thing. Remember, Cobb Vanth is still on Tatooine, and Cobb Vanth had issues with the Tusken Raiders. Is that in some way connected to Boba? How much of this is going to be Boba being an anti-hero or maybe even a villain in his own piece? And is Cobb Vanth going to be turned into the hero, or vice versa? Is Cobb Vanth going to be presented as the villain who stole this armor of Boba's and maybe kind of inflicted his own rule on that town, and Boba's got to go save other people from those places? What do you anticipate the series will be about?
I anticipate it's going to walk the line, and I think this is what's cool about this side of Star Wars. To know what Filoni thinks about Boba Fett, you only really have to go back as far as Clone Wars and see the episodes that dealt with young Boba, where he was kind of taken under the wing of Aura Singh, who's another awesome bounty hunter character, and kind of taught the ways. And he was, he definitely was like pissed at the Jedi, wanted to take them out. But even back then, he wasn't fully a bad guy. He was a guy who had his own agenda and wasn't above doing things that other people might look at as bad or villainous. But he ultimately had a code that he went by. And I think you saw that in Mandalorian as well, like saying, look, we made a deal, we're sticking to the deal. Like, he's not an asshole. Right. He just goes by his own thing. Like, even the fact that he was like, we're going to help you out, and then we're going to get back to our thing. So I think he's going to walk that line. I absolutely think Timothy Olyphant as Cobb Vanth is coming back into this. Like, 1,000%, I think we're going to see him in Book of Boba. And I also think that I'm hoping, we know that we're going to see Fennec Shand in Bad Batch, and we know that Ming-Na Wen is supplying the voice. And so I'm hoping, and I think probably a good chance, that we'll also see Boba and Bad Batch, and we may get a little bit more backstory on the two of them and how they came together. And then I'm hoping that means we can take some of the cooler characters from the scum and villainy side of Clone Wars and maybe see them in live action. Like, this seems to me the right time to maybe finally give us a live action Cad Bane, maybe.
Yeah.
So these are the things that I get really excited about.
Yeah, and Shannon, Michael brings up an excellent point. Bad Batch is coming, I think, if I'm correct on this, before the Book of Boba Fett. So will that be laying a little bit of the groundwork or foundation for some of the storylines that they'll revisit or touch upon in the Book of Boba Fett? So almost like the Clone Wars, working in tandem with the prequel trilogy instead of working after the prequel trilogy or coming out after the prequel trilogy. This could be a way of kind of making them work in tandem, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, after when the Bad Batch first, debuted in the last season of Clone Wars, they were characters. I mean, the creators knew what they had. I mean, and that's why the spinoff was already in the works by the time that episode aired. The audience was jazzed to see more of these characters, and here's hoping that some of them can make that leap to live action. Like, we'd love to see catch up with the Bad Batch. I mean, I don't know how many seasons that show's going to go, but you could see the fate of what happens to some of these characters X amount of years down the line. And personally, man, I would love to see a Bad Batch video game. Like, just having the commentary from those individual characters. Each mission is sort of it's one character driven. I think those guys are tailor made for a first person shooter.
Great point.
Yeah, and we know from the end of Rebels that Rex fought in the Battle of Endor. So we know that, like, just from a timeline standpoint, like, technically, as long as the Bad Batch survives whatever's going to happen in this series, they'll be older. But technically, in this timeline, they would still logically be around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is the Star Wars A-team, essentially.
Yeah. And I'd love to see, or Expendables, whatever you want to say. And I'd love to get a novel about the Bad Batch as well down the road that may be connected in some way to to the animated series. As I start to get more of these and start to get into them, I would love to read something on that for sure. So exciting stuff. Certainly at Disney, they weren't done making announcements. We'll get into something later on they made an announcement about as well. Get your dancing shoes on. That should be interesting on so many levels. But certainly this is an exciting one. We see now very clearly that Disney and Disney Plus and Lucasfilm, they're just turning the corner here on Star Wars. The whatever your feelings are about the sequel trilogy, they clearly want to start focusing more and more on these series. And certainly that season 2 of Mandalorian shows you the kind of dedication they have to this and the kind of money they want to throw at these series. So it's something to look forward to. This is a great time to be alive, to be a Star Wars fan, for sure. No matter what your Star Wars is, it's all there for you to enjoy.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go on to our next topic. Who's got that one?
That would be me. And in addition to being a Star Wars fan, another thing that some of us here on the Geek Buddies are fans of are classic 80s comedies, one of which is Coming to America. And so for those that are excited about the upcoming Coming to America 2, Amazon Prime released a trailer this week, a teaser trailer that kind of shows you our classic characters back in action, gives you a little bit of the story, and it was awesome. It was great. It's really exciting. Coming to America is being directed by Craig Brewer, who last worked with Eddie Murphy on Dolomite, written by Kenya Barris, and basically most of the original cast is returning. We've got Eddie Murphy, obviously, Arsenio Hall, James Earl Jones, Louis Anderson, Sherry Headley, John Amos, Vanessa Calloway, and then we have new people joining, Kiki Lane, Wesley Snipes, Tracy Morgan, Tiana Taylor, Leslie Jones, who we see in the trailer, and Jermaine Fowler, who is playing Eddie Murphy's long-lost son. So based on the trailer, we now know that what Coming to America is about is that Eddie Murphy, at some point while he was back in Queens, didn't make it into the movie. It's on the cutting room floor, but he hooked up with someone, I believe it's Leslie Jones's character,
Leslie Jones. Yep.
and had himself an illegitimate child that he needs to come back and get because that kid is a prince of Zamunda.
Yeah.
So that is the story that we're dealing with. That's what brings them back, but that is not what the best part of the trailer is. Like, that's awesome. It's great. Like, that's the story device. But seeing these characters back, not just Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall as the main characters, but as all of the other characters that they play. Because one of the best parts about the original Coming to America is that Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall each play like 4 or 5 different characters, most notably in the barbershop scene, which kind of the end of the trailer is kind of a just showboating the fact that these guys are back in the makeup, and they have not missed a beat, and it is absolutely hilarious. Guys, what did you think of the trailer? How excited are you for Coming to America?
I really like the trailer. I'm cautiously optimistic.
Oh, come on!
I'm cautiously optimistic. I want this movie to be incredibly funny because I love the original Coming to America. Eddie Murphy hasn't had a hit in a decent amount. Arsenio Hall really hasn't been acting in film for even longer. My hope is that it's going to be a very, very satisfying experience. Obviously, it's being released by Paramount. The intention was for it to be released in theaters, but then from COVID, it got hooked up with Amazon Prime really, really fast, at least from an announcement standpoint. So, we don't know, as the viewing audience, we don't know how long these talks were going on, but they just seemed okay with getting rid of it very, very quickly. At least that's from my point of view. Okay. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I mean, the fact that Wesley Snipes is in it, a lot of people forget, because they remember Wesley Snipes from the 90s as the action guy, Demolition Man, and he's really, really funny. Yeah. All you have to do is just go back to Major League and you see Wesley Snipes is hilarious. If you watch Dolomite on Netflix, what a crazy funny performance that he turned in. So the fact that he's the ruler of their neighboring nation, I believe, right? I'm really, really hopeful, but my fingers are crossed. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, this to me is the apex of Eddie. I grew up, Eddie's my guy. Eddie's what I grew up with. Eddie taught me to cuss. Eddie is my number one favorite stand-up comic. And I watch anything Eddie does, even Mr. Church. I will give Dave 1,000 words or whatever it was. I've always tried to watch his films to see if maybe there's a little bit of the old Eddie still around. And Dolomite Is My Name was such a godsend for those of us who love Eddie as much as we do, seeing his work and him and Wesley working so well, having Craig Brewer be behind this thing. And when you see the trailer, you can tell Paramount spent money here. It looks like they wanted this to look good. They wanted this to look theatrical. The designs, Ruthie Carter did all the costume, which she did Black Panther. They said when James Earl Jones put on the crown, the production crew spontaneously erupted into laughter, seeing him as the king of Zamunda again, or the king in retirement of Zamunda again, seeing Eddie as Akeem again, seeing Arsenio again in this just made Semi, right? They haven't missed a beat in their chemistry. They haven't missed a beat. Sherry Headley coming back is great to see. The barbershop, yes, the barbershop clearly exists in a time machine because all these gentlemen would be dead.
They would be so dead. I don't care.
Yeah, I know, but it works because it's so funny and you give it that leeway because it's a comedy.
They're 175 years old each, and I don't give a shit.
I don't care if maybe they're all vampires in Brooklyn. I don't care. I'm all for it being a part of this thing. But but the jokes are all there at the end. And listen, this is my number one favorite 80s comedy. It cannot be touched. It's so funny. It's so quotable. And it's great to see all these people. And the fact that Louis Anderson might be back. Is he the owner of McDowell's at this point?
I know, right?
Or has he graduated to fry cook? I don't know what it is, but I love it. John Amos being back. So all of it, it looks like a lot of fun. That's what the trailer kind of conveyed to me. It's a lot of fun. We're not trading on nostalgia. This is a new story. He did have relations with Leslie Jones. It's an illegitimate child. We have to bring him back. Wesley Snipes is the neighboring country that's trying to take over Zamunda, so maybe kind of a latent little bit of a Black Panther storyline there, where he's basically a Killmonger type who's taking it over, and he looks like he's having a ball. So all of it just works so well, and I was laughing my balls off, and I love it. I can't wait to see a longer trailer, and I can't wait to see this thing on March 5th. It's circled.
Yeah, I think that it's the behind the scenes, like to your point about the Craig Brewer, but like from the Dolomite and the Kenya Barris part of it. Like I feel like that's a good combination to kind of make this not just a retread of what we've seen. And even as much as I just thought the jokes in the barbershop scene at the end of the trailer were hilarious, every like, oh look, it's Kunta Kinte and Ebola, like whatever. But like those were all good. But then the guy in the chair being like, oh, it's the dead babies with the flies out, and they're like, okay, that's racist. Get out of here. Like it just, there was sort of like a sophistication to the humor that I was like, I feel like this is what this should be. Like I feel like we're in the right spot. I gotta say, this just made me think about. I was laughing. I was telling somebody, I loved Coming to America so much that when I was in middle school, one of my friends brought a VHS tape of Coming to America, but we took it out of the box and we just put it on the shelf in my history teacher's room.
Right.
And then he was like going through things and he's like, what is this? And we're like, what does it say? Is this Coming to America? And we were like, oh, I think that's a documentary about Africa.
Yeah.
We should watch it. And so he puts it on and he made it all the way through the credits. He even saw Eddie Murphy sitting in the pool, didn't realize it was Eddie Murphy. Like he's sitting there, and it wasn't until the woman comes up topless and says, the royal penis is clean, sir. And he's like, whoa, what is this? What are you guys doing? One of the highlights of my middle school experience.
Yeah, I've heard that story. I've heard that story many times. And being friends with you, we hear how much you enjoy Coming to America. Those of us who are real friends with you, who understand and heard your love of Coming to America many times. A little reference to the back and forth between our friends Malinowski and Vogel yesterday on Twitter. But also Garcelle Beauvoir has come back as well. She's the one throwing the flowers out. She's the one in Coming to America as well. So I wonder if we'll get a Paula Abdul sighting. I wonder if we'll get that Body by Jake guy. I wonder if he'll show up still driving the cab. Like, I think they can make little references that'll just be quick in and out references to people who were there before. So I would love to see that. And I get your costly up, Shannon. I totally get it. We've seen these things crash and burn before. Certainly people talk themselves into liking that Bill and Ted Face the Music. But this feels like they legitimately, and I get your case. That they sold it quick, but they sold it for $125 million. It was not cheap. They had to work out what to pay Eddie. And I think they just wanted to get, and remember, they were originally going to drop this thing last weekend. So they had enough confidence in it to drop it around Christmas time. Yeah. Not in January. They wanted to drop it at Christmas time. So I think that bodes well. But I'm so optimistic. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that. Like, I think any of these reboots of things that we love, like, and there will be more to come. Like, there's always a bit of like, did you do this right, or are you gonna fuck me over? Because we've been fucked over on so many reboots and sequels. And Johnny is right. As much as I enjoyed Bill and Ted Face the Music on my couch, had I seen that in theaters, I don't think I would have been as amused. So I think it's absolutely fair. For some reason, I've got a good feeling on this one. Like, I'm very excited. So we'll see.
I hope you're right. I mean, I hope that this is not a cash grab. The fact that Craig Brewer, that he directed him in My Name is Dolomite, and then he brought him back for this, and the fact that Wesley Snipes and Eddie Murphy worked together in My Name is Dolomite, he saw the comedic potential. But there are also times when I've seen Eddie Murphy where I'm like, oh man, it just seems like the light has gone out in your eye a little bit. Like that, I referenced that Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee episode, which is, one of my favorite shows. And his heart just didn't seem to be in it. And they would cut to his old stand-up specials where he's just a live wire. And it's like, I get that you're an older guy now, but man, I hope that guy isn't gone forever.
Well, everybody. I mean, look at Luke. All right. Anyway, as he got older. So anyway, all right. So that's March 5th, 2021, Amazon Prime. Put it on your calendar. Shannon, what's our last story?
So we got some Marvel tidbits. Kevin Feige's been out doing some interviews in preparation for WandaVision coming out, and he dropped a few tidbits that I think are pretty fun. The first one is that he confirmed that She-Hulk is going to be a half-hour legal comedy, which is something that, Marvel they have done funny before, but the fact that they're leaning into this half-hour comedic format is really fun. I mean, they have not definitively said what the episode links are going to be for WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier. He did say in one of the interviews, they're roughly going to be about an hour. So knowing that they're embracing this shorter time, and already I'm thinking like, all right, it's a comedy. So the first time Jennifer Walters hulks out, she's going to be in a courtroom. That's my guess right now. We also found out that Chadwick Boseman didn't just voice one episode of What If, and apparently he voiced numerous ones. And Kevin Feige said in that interview that the performance just means so much more now, because it's this gift that we've been given a year after Chadwick Boseman kind of tragically passed away. And also ringing in 2021, Marvel is doing something with the Billy Fest, I believe is what it's called. Yeah. It's a show, a concert aimed at young Chinese adults, and they're going to be having some sort of Marvel music presentation where they also are going to be exhibiting some of the stuff that they have coming out in 2021. So I know that is a ton of stuff to process right now. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts?
Mikey?
We already knew that Chadwick Boseman was voicing T'Challa in the What If series. And from the trailer, we know that it's sort of what if T'Challa became Star-Lord, basically, at least in one of them, if not more. But just, you're right, like knowing he's going to be in multiple episodes, knowing we get to see him play that role again, even if it's in these alternate realities, it is just going to be super affecting. It's going to be super great. It's one more reason out of the thousands of reasons to be excited about What If. I'm so excited for all the Marvel shows, but being an animation guy and seeing the quality of the animation, like every new little tidbit we get about What If makes me more and more and more excited. So that's awesome. This Marvel musical thing, I said this morning, I'm a gay nerd. Like he said, Kevin Feige comes out and he's like, we're doing a Marvel musical thing on New Year's. And I'm like, I have been training my entire life for this moment. I am ready. What is it? Jellicle superheroes. I'm in. Like, just give it to me. Like, I'm ready. So that's great. And like the She-Hulk news has me the most excited because for anyone who's ever read the She-Hulk comics, like She-Hulk is at her best when it is a screwy comedic corner of the Marvel universe where characters can show up and we get to see them in a different light because we're so used to seeing heroes in life and death moments where, all of life is on the line. The Chitauri have invaded New York. The Infinity Gauntlet is fully loaded and ready to go. The galaxy is on the line. But it's really funny to see Star-Lord parked the Milano in New York City and got a boot on it. Or, like the random silly things that come up in a superhero's life And it could be anybody. I mean, Kevin Feige already said, there's no telling who we're going to see. So does that mean she's going to walk into a courtroom one day and Matt Murdock is going to be standing there and that's the way that we start to bring him into this stuff and everybody screams and goes crazy? Or does it mean that Peter Parker shows up as Tom Holland comes in and he's got like some issue? I mean, less likely because of the Sony stuff, but the idea that we can see all of these people in a different light that's really funny, I think is going to be a blast. And, we already know that Abomination is in it. We know that Ruffalo's coming back as Bruce Banner. So there's definitely going to be no shortage of Hulkish action, but the fact that it's leaning more comedy. I mean, Feige said, like, they're trying something very different with WandaVision. Falcon and Winter Soldier is much more of like an extended movie, but Loki is super, super weird. And now we know that She-Hulk is a comedy. So it does seem that with these TV shows, in addition to just bringing the Marvel level of storytelling and special effects and everything to Disney Plus, they're also trying to like expand what the Marvel brand is, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I think that's what I think your last point is the one that I fall back on, Mike, is that I see more and more Marvel is like, okay, how can we expand what we do here? Yes, we've had these great films. We've really laid the groundwork here. We've got these shows coming out. WandaVision is clearly going to be something completely different and weird and new. Loki from that trailer looks like it's going to be time jumping, messing around with stuff and having some fun. Falcon and Winter Soldier, a little more straightforward for what it is. And Hawkeye is obviously going to be a passing of the torch type of thing, like essentially a pseudo father and daughter type relationship. And that's going to be fun to see. Now let's throw in a half-hour comedy or however long this is going to be. And how are they going to make this work? Now, comedy doesn't mean like, Two Broke Girls or something like that. It's going to be something a little more nuanced, I think, a little more interesting in terms of the storylines. I'm not as familiar with Jennifer Walters' run in She-Hulk as you might be, Mikey, but I like the idea of this being an extension. And also, Tatiana Maslany in Orphan Black is very funny. It's not a comedy, but there are some comedic moments when she's playing all these different characters that she hits the beats on perfectly. So this excites me. We just saw her in Perry Mason. If you haven't watched that, she's great. Perry Mason, a lot more serious. So to see her jumping into this is a lot of fun. I don't know how you do comedy with Tim Roth and Abomination. Like maybe you make fun of the fact that was a way overdone villain and you make some jokes about that. Ruffalo certainly has lighthearted comedy tendencies, so he can work well in this when they find him. And Matt Murdock is a great point you bring up as well. All of it works. I'm excited for it. Now, that's one subject. This New Year's Eve thing, I'm getting shades of that 1970s holiday special from Star Wars, and I'm scared. I'm legitimately scared. I know it's not for me. I get it. It's not for me. But I want to enjoy it. I don't want to see Captain America going, my shield. I've got
superheroes.
Like those old school 70s shows where you saw the superheroes doing their thing. So I don't know. I just get a little worried, but everyone says in Feige you trust, and people need to really let go of the fact that China is a very important part of these studios and the box office and the money they make to keep doing the content we enjoy. They make a lot of money in China. So if they're catering to China with certain things, that's important to keep the cash flow going so that we can all enjoy the extension of that, which is all these other shows and films and media that they do. Now, personal feelings is that you can have personal issues with human rights stuff going on there. You can have stuff issues with what they've done in China. I totally respect that. But for me, it's a business, and the business has to operate, has to function, and it makes sense that they're doing this. What do you guys think? Any final words on that?
I mean, like it's the Jennifer Walters of it all. I think She-Hulk has it's this constant shuffling of the Disney Plus series that I'm the most looking forward to. Yeah. Going in, it was Falcon and Winter Soldier. Then after the presentation, it was Loki, and now the whole idea that we're going to get the Marvel comedy, and you could have sort of a revolving door of guest stars that she has to defend for any sort of super related superhero offenses. That's awesome. The what if thing, as Mike said, like that is going to be the show. Like I think as fans right now, that's the show we're really, really excited about. And that's the show that I think the public will get more excited about once they understand, okay, what is this exactly? Why is Captain America a zombie? The New Year's Eve thing. I mean, I don't know.
Shannon, as a theme park a veteran,
jazz hands.
I for New Year's Eve, working in theme parks, I have been a part of some truly bananas shows. Part of that was at Universal Japan, where Charlie Chaplin was running around in Waterworld. Like, why do those two belong together? Japan. But honestly, I don't think Scarlett Johansson is going to come out and start singing for this. I'm guessing it's going to be more like what I'm hoping is like sort of a medley of the Marvel themes. And then the real show is the showcase of what we're going to see, what we have coming down the pipe for 2021.
I know this is not what it's going to be. I know this is not it, but like now I can't help but like take the Broadway musical part of my brain and the Avengers part of my brain. And like as soon as you said that, I was like, it's like Black Widow on Boromir after she's like gone over the edge and she's just like, on my own, pretending he's beside me. Like I can literally. I know that's not what we're getting on New Year's, but I'm ready. One last thing, Johnny, to your point. I mean, like having read the Jennifer Walters, like I think it's the Dan Slott run of She-Hulk, which I think this is really, but like is going to be more based on like. To your point, that world was so screwy. It would be the type of show. I'm not saying this is necessarily what they're going to do, but it would be Abomination is getting sued for property damage, and Jennifer Walters represents him, and the Hulk shows up and is like, I'm going to beat him up. He's a bad guy. And she's like, no, he's my client. Like they go down that road. Like it gets bonkers bananas. And if they nail it, it's going to be stupidly funny.
Okay. It's like Space Ghost Ghost type of thing. Like what's that? Could have that vibe to it. Definitely.
Yeah.
Real quick, get your thoughts on this. I broke this morning. I forgot to mention to you guys before we started, but Daphne Keane gave an interview. You know, she's on His Dark Materials. You know, she was X-23 in Logan. Gave an interview, and they asked her about possibly. There have been rumors about her possibly returning in Deadpool 3 as X-23. Would you guys want to see her returning? She said, that there had been X-23 had been in the works as a separate film, her kind of branching off, but they of course put a kibosh on it once Disney bought it. But they've said they want to start over again with this new. Would the fact that they're bringing Ryan Reynolds back for Deadpool 3, would them bringing Daphne Keane back as X-23 in Deadpool 3, would that work and kind of turn the dynamic around where you do have a Wolverine in a Deadpool movie, but it's more a matter of she's younger than him, so maybe she's the one needling him and not vice versa like he likes to do to Wolverine. Would that be interesting to you guys, or do you think they just have to start over again even with X-23?
I think with them going full multiverse, Deadpool will permanently be in its own universe. I don't really see him being sort of introduced into our kind of Marvel Prime universe.
Okay.
That being said, Deadpool paired up with a kid. I didn't particularly enjoy that in Deadpool 2. That may have had more to do with the kid from the Hunt for the Wilder People.
I think maybe, yeah.
It's possible. But her, I mean, like you're getting the idea of a Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman pairing, but instead of Hugh Jackman, it's going to be Daphne Keane. And I think they will have tons of fun. If that's where they go, they will have tons of fun at Hugh Jackman's expense with that pairing.
Oh, I didn't even think about that at Jackman's expense. Yeah. What do you think, Mike? What do you think happened here?
I don't know. I agree with Shannon. Like now that and this is true of DC as well. Like once you're opening up the multiverse, like all bets are off. You can do whatever you want. I think the big question, and this applies to both Deadpool and X-23, is how are mutants coming in?
Right.
Like I think that anything that you want to do with Deadpool kind of popping in and out of the regular mainline MCU, with X-23 becoming because I could see with them going with all these younger heroes and kind of looking like they're building a Young Avengers. Yeah. I can see a world where they launch the X-Men without a Wolverine, without a male Wolverine, and we just have female Wolverine, and she is, to a whole generation of kids, the Wolverine that they know. And I think that is highly likely. I think they could very much do that, and I would be super on board with them doing that, because I think that X-23 as X-23 is awesome. X-23 is just Wolverine, like not Wolverine Prime, not Mrs. Wolverine, not anything. She's just Wolverine, is pretty badass. Yeah. And I think that would be great, but it's just I don't really know what they're going to do with either Deadpool or her if she shows up in that universe. until I can kind of like get my head around this is where mutants come from. And once we know if mutants are all coming from some other universe that has mutants, if mutants are going to all of a sudden spontaneously combust on Earth, if the Eternals movie is about doing something that's going to alter human evolution, like there's a lot of options that people have been banding around online. And I think once that's set, then I could see that happening. And so it really kind of depends on where Deadpool 3 falls and where they've started to seed the mutant stuff.
Yeah, that's a great point. I brought that up on SEN Live, the idea that she could be this new generation's Wolverine. And it's also, and as you were talking, Mike, it got me thinking, it's also a great way to avoid the whole like, well, he isn't Hugh Jackman. That's not my Wolverine.
Yeah.
You avoid that whole thing. You sidestep it completely by just having someone like Daphne come in and build the X-23 out, like build her out her own and make her own legacy as the Wolverine in this universe. But Shannon, you might be right. Maybe it's just an alternate thing and they keep it there and they maybe only rarely cross it over. But I think Daphne Keane deserves another shot at playing X-23. She's so great in that movie.
Yeah.
I'd be so happy to see her step in there. So, all right, well, let's take a little bit of a break here and we'll get into our main topic, which will be the legacy of Luke Skywalker and more. All right, we'll be right back after this.
Trademark no spoiler. Trademark spoiler.
All right, there we go. I think that was long enough. All right, we're back here. Let me put up the graphics again. I always have to find them again. Where is Chip? That's not it. Oh, I'll find it at some point. Keep talking. So anyway, today what we're doing here, Jesus, where is it? There it is. There. I have so many of them, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize.
We can cut all that out. We can cut all that out.
You can. Let's jump into things. So our main topic today is going to be addressing, and this is right off the bat, spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the end season 2 of The Mandalorian, please stop it now and go watch it and then come back. Or if you don't care, keep listening, keep watching. But
what is the I actually had this conversation on Twitter last weekend. What is the, broadly speaking, expiration on spoilers? Like, I definitely on Friday, we all watch Mandalorian here and talk about it, but like, I wasn't doing any spoilers, and I kind of said to myself, I'm going to wait till Monday before I post any funny things. But like, what is the timeline there, do you think, from a geek standpoint? What do you guys think it is?
I think it depends on the medium. Like, I think if you have seen something in a theater, the nice thing to do is 2 weeks, don't talk about it. Of course, that doesn't happen. Television, like if you're watching the finale of Mad Men or some big network show, you got a few days. And I think streamers, Friday morning, it was popping out what had happened. And my girlfriend who has not watched any Mandalorian since I had to go home, I was just like, listen, do not go on any social media because the huge spoiler is out there. And she, to this point, has not seen a thing.
Wow.
So maybe that's just a testament to her friends list.
Yeah, that's true. Her feed. Yeah. That's for sure. I think it's 48 hours and then maybe maybe till Wednesday of the next week. You don't want to post too much, but certainly that isn't the case for a lot of people though, Mike. A lot of people are posting that day. I'm
not saying
I'm with you, man.
I know that for myself, I have to I didn't, aside from Rocha sending a random text that kind of only 20% ruined it for me. I actually did pretty well. But I understand that people are going to do what they do and there's people that are going to spoil it right away. I just think for myself, it was kind of like a 48 hour, it hit on Friday and I was like, I feel like on Monday I can start. I'm not going to just do a spoiler dump, but I can start referring to things that happened. And I feel like if you haven't seen it by this point, it is what it is. But I was just curious.
There's no concrete rule. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say, John. With people are assholes. Sometimes people, it's going to be an individual person who can most likely spoil it for you. What really irritates me is when a news outlet does it. Yeah. And they're huge character shows up and they have a still of said character. It's don't have some sort of responsibility here. That's jacked up. Don't do that.
I agree with that.
Having worked for an outlet, I can tell you it's about getting those clicks, man. It's about getting those hits. And for them, they'll take the negative hit because they know that so many people will have watched it day of or that time or when it dropped and all of that. So for them, they think they can offset the negative reaction with the positive clicks and interactions and what have you. I don't think it's the right thing to do, but these sites have to survive on these clicks. They get ads off these clicks. So it's like, it's a catch-22 for them. And I totally understand that. And we do that. We try to be very clear when we're doing our things. I tried on the thumbnails for the Mandalorian stuff. I tried to find the thumbnails that did not give away anything. I purposely did not put any of those thumbnails for our finale that had Luke on it. So that's the thing. But anyway, that's what we're getting into today. Let's get into it. Luke Skywalker, he did show up at the end of the Mandalorian season 2. He took baby Yoda or Grogu in a very sweet and tender moment after a very sweet and tender moment between the Mandalorian, Din Djarin, and Grogu. And now there's been, and the face, it was a little bit of the uncanny valley. There was certainly CG. Mark Hamill was on set. He did do the voice. They did adjust some of the audio for his voice to make him sound like he did at the end of Return of the Jedi. So there's a lot, but then there's been a lot of backlash to this, both the CGI, the idea that he showed up, and certainly Scott Mendelson's article in Forbes made a lot of damning statements, a lot of strong statements, lumping people into certain clubs that aren't part of those clubs because of certain things lining up. And I thought it was a bit of an unfair article, but then again, I think he's hunting for clicks as well. And I don't think he 100% believes some of the stuff here, having known Scott in real life. So all of this stuff, though, has become drama of the idea of Luke showing up. Is it nostalgia? Is it fan service? Is it innovative? Is it an insult to the younger fans? So, Mikey, please take it away. What's your feeling on all of this?
Well, yeah, it seems to me, just in observing everything, that there's sort of like 3 or 4 camps. Like there's the this was dumb. He did real. It was just nostalgia. It's just fan service. They should have done something. And sort of to Scott Mendelson's article in Forbes, why aren't they doing new stuff? They're just trying to please the old fans and give like the 40-year-old Star Wars fans what they want. Then there is the this was amazing. I absolutely loved it. This is why I hate you so much, Last Jedi. Last Jedi ruined Luke Skywalker. This is the Luke Skywalker I always wanted to see. Look how excited everybody is. Suck it, Rian Johnson, Kathleen Kennedy, you're an idiot. There's a lot of that. So there's the this is what I've always wanted. And then there is more of the I'll call it the middle ground. I'll call this is where I sit. So obviously I think this is the right one. But this was amazing. This really makes the most sense for this era of Star Wars. And this actually makes Luke Skywalker's arc into Last Jedi start to make more sense. And it's going to actually make that a better ending for Luke than a lot of people who aren't fans of Last Jedi felt that it was. I'll say.
Shannon, I mean, like Michael brings up a great point to the idea of Luke Skywalker, and I'll mention one of the people that I retweeted earlier this week, and his philosophy and his point of view, which I thought was very well laid out. But this idea that this is in a way kind of showing, yes, that this is the Luke at this time, and this is the Luke to the badass, but this isn't the Luke 30 years later. This is the Luke as a young man at the prime of his powers as a Jedi and all of that. So what was your reaction to this? And do you think it's fan service, or do you think it actually worked?
I mean, I think it worked. I'm not thrilled with the choice because
Really?
The story didn't go where I wanted it to go. and at the end of the day, I ain't telling the story. I mean, I was not ready to say goodbye to the dynamic that was Din Djarin and Grogu in its current state. I wanted more of that. The idea that they brought in Luke, to me, again, I know we said this before on our recap, but I'm glad that they did go with the CGI Luke as not perfect as it was. I like that more than another actor, because you pull the hood down. And let's say it's Sebastian Stan is like, hey, I'm Luke Skywalker. It's like, that wouldn't sit right with me. The idea that it's being swallowed by nostalgia, to quote the headline, to me is crazy, because look at what they announced for, their next like what 10 projects. I don't think the Rangers of the New Republic is being swallowed by nostalgia. I don't think the Acolyte is being swallowed by nostalgia. I think to go forward, when you have a massive franchise like this, when you're dealing with video games and you're dealing with films and you're dealing with TV series, you can't ignore the past. Like there is value in telling more of those stories, filling in some of those gaps. But to not do anything new would be a bad decision. And that's why they are doing stuff new. We are seeing continuing adventures of Ahsoka. A lot of the people who watch Star Wars don't know who Ahsoka is because they didn't watch the Clone Wars. They didn't watch Rebels. So I don't agree.
Or Bo-Katan, yeah.
Yeah, Bo-Katan, 100%. I mean, and really, like, I think the thing that really got people jazzed about The Mandalorian was you have a story taking place in this universe that is somewhat familiar, but it is a new story. And you're getting these little sprinkles. And I wouldn't call them nostalgia. They're using what is available. Mm-hmm. And that's a smart decision, in my opinion.
Yeah, it feels... Oh, so good. Go ahead, Mikey.
No, go ahead. I want to come back to that point that Shannon made because I do think that there's a distinction in what they are doing right now with Star Wars and what Scott Mendelson says they're doing, and I think there's a difference. But go ahead.
Yeah. I think that I like the mixture. I'm more in the camp where you are, Mikey. I like the mixture, and I think I can, kind of connect the pieces and create space for them to creatively connect the pieces as they construct all of this, and that's okay. And I wonder if the same people screaming about this are the same people that loved Creed, bringing back Rocky and then launching the Creed and then bringing back Drago and Creed 2. Like, that's fan service. That's fucking fan service. So to me, I wonder if it's a subjective thing. Certain things are cool with fan service. Certain things aren't. Oh, you brought back Bill and Ted. Oh, what characters? Oh, you brought back Death. That's fucking fan service. So to me, it's like if it's organically within what you're creating, it is not fan service. It is building the world out, still having new ideas, but touching base with older characters or touching base with the characters that are the foundation of what you create. And I think Mendelssohn's article is a little bit off in that, thinking, oh, it was like kind of crapping on the younger fans. The younger fans go back and watch the original trilogy. Let me tell you something. I host a sports show. I host a geek show. I host a pro wrestling show. Young fans go back and watch old sports stuff. Young fans go back and watch old wrestling matches. Young fans go back and watch old geek stuff, old nerdy stuff to get the foundation to enjoy the characters that are being presented and have a more rich understanding of what those characters are. I mean, no one would say Bloodlines with fan service. No one would say Luke showing up. Like, all that stuff is important in the mediums that you read them in or watch them in to give a better idea of the overall universe and the arcs of these characters that are connected to this universe. So I felt his article was a bit unfair, and especially because he was lumping the same people who enjoyed this with the same people who were trying to usher Rosemary Tran and Daisy Ridley off social media. I was one of those people who enjoyed this. I in no way wanted Rosemary Tran or Daisy Ridley to be ushered off social media. So I thought he was a bit unfair on some of the fans who enjoyed this. Go ahead.
Kelly Marie Tran, who played Rose.
Kelly Marie Tran. Sorry. Go ahead.
Rosemary Tran and Luke Hamill and Leia Fisher.
I apologize.
And Harrison Solo. Yeah, like I think that is. Look, I think that. Do I think that Luke Skywalker? Do I think that a lone X-wing flying into shot and Cara Dune saying one X-wing, great, we're saved, and then having the reveal of the green lightsaber and having the reveal of the glove and having the Luke music swell when he pulls his hood off, is that fan service? In a way, yes. I'm a fan and I am serviced because you are giving me the thing that I want. But it's good. No, stop it. Stop. Don't make that face, Shannon. You know what I'm saying. But no, it is well done. It is two people or a team of people that understand what we love about Star Wars and does something that hits all the right notes. Now, Scott Mendelson was kind of lumping that in with Rise of Skywalker, which did a lot of things that did not sit well. The Emperor coming back, Chewie getting his medal. There was a lot of moments in Star Wars Rise of Skywalker where you would argue, oh, well, we're doing this thing for the fans. But they're not really, because most fans were like, not all fans, and if this was your jam, I totally respect you for it. But in general, I'll say at least the three of us, there was a lot of moments that didn't ring true in the moment. And I think what Filoni has proven from the Clone Wars on, and what Favreau is doing really great and the entire team is doing, is they have an ability, and they've had it from Clone Wars, where they can take characters that show up in other parts of the saga, bring them into their world, and it fits organically, it services the story, and it services the other newer characters that are there. To your point, Shannon, I don't think that we are necessarily losing the Din Djarin and Grogu dynamic, because I don't think Grogu is gone in all of season 3. I don't think that he's just disappeared and we're going to see him somewhere in like 2 series from now. Like, I think that the bond between them is important. It seems like Filoni and Favreau and the entire team get that. I don't think we're going to lose it. I think Luke showing up in the limited capacity he did made sense for this point in the universe, gave the fans a super thrill that we all were super excited about. And now he's going to go, and we'll see how this all ties together. I think that they are taking the pieces, kind of to what you said, they're taking the pieces on the table, and they're not going, ooh, this is a really good piece. People are going to love it. Let's wave this in their faces. They're going, this makes sense. Let's use this now.
Yeah. I want to read sorry, Shannon, did you want to respond to that? I was going to
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. Because I think the week-to-week adventure of Din Djarin and Grogu to me, it is gone. Now I understand the choice that they made, and I think that was the right choice. Probably it was the choice that I didn't want. But ultimately, it's not my story. It's the story that they're telling. The whole fan service thing, like, to me, as you said, Rise of Skywalker, that was fan service.
Yeah.
As much as I did not really enjoy Last Jedi, I think the smart thing to do, storytelling wise, is you finish that story. Is like, he set the pieces down. You've got one more movie. Now's not the time to wipe the board clean and do it all over again. Like, that was a horrible choice. And like, apologies if you enjoyed Rise of Skywalker. I also think Rian Johnson made a mistake with knocking the pieces down that J.J. Abrams set up. I mean, the whole trilogy for me was problematic like that. Yeah. And hopefully now, I think they have seen the results of that, and that they probably won't do that again.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what works best. What you saw in Mandalorian, for the most part, is what people fell in love with Star Wars for in the first place in 1977, when this whole thing kicked off. And so that's a really important thing to remember and consider. And I want to read a couple of a couple of paragraphs from Scott's article here, just to give the context here. He said, the Luke sequence, intentional or not, acts as a request answer to many of the worst and most toxic would-be Star Wars fans, the one who chased Kelly Marie Tran and Daisy Ridley off social media and swore that The Last Jedi ruined Star Wars precisely because it didn't feature Luke Skywalker hacking and slashing his way through First Order troops like a Jedi Academy or Super Star Wars video game character. The announcement in that mid-credits sting that the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian were essentially a backdoor pilot for a he's cool now Boba Fett show flies in the face of any fans young enough to not care about the guy who Darth Vader could barely tolerate in The Empire Strikes Back and who died a comedic death in Return of the Jedi. Those fans don't matter. And yes, many of the folks who spent the last 40 years swearing that Boba Fett was cool, despite no in-movie evidence, were the same folks who couldn't believe that Daisy Ridley's Rey could be a Jedi with minimal training, were outraged that Ahsoka could best Darth Maul in a lightsaber combat, and swore that a 9-minute character-specific subplot concerning Boyega and Kelly Marie Tran ruined the 150-minute Last Jedi. So that's what he's saying here. And he says it sends a clear signal about the future of Star Wars. Mike, thoughts on these 2 paragraphs? Real quick.
Those 2 paragraphs are, pardon me, complete ridiculousness.
Okay.
Like, they're ridiculous. Like, look, trying to say that every single person who got excited that Luke Skywalker did something cool hates the women of Star Wars and hates Last Jedi is such an overly broad statement that it's just bananas.
Yeah.
You can, as I said, and as the guy that you retweeted, you were tweeting with, has said, you can actually like both. And like, Luke Skywalker, 5 years after Return of the Jedi, isn't going to be a cranky old guy who's going to drink weird green milk and throw his lightsaber. Mm-hmm. But you need this guy to be awesome now, to be untouchable and invincible, so that when you get to the Luke in Last Jedi, you go, oh, he had a moment where he thought he was And any arc of any athlete, sports star, historical figure, you have the I was doing great, I flew too close to the sun, or something horrible happened, I had my fall. We're seeing Luke at the other end of this, and that doesn't mean that, let's just give the fans what they want and let's ignore all the stuff from before. It means, and Filoni and his team didn't do that with Clone Wars. They didn't do that with Rebels. Like, this is a team that has shown they're not going to wipe away the stuff that they don't like or that whatever and just give the fans what they want. They're going to use the story that's there, and they're going to build it out and flesh out some parts that maybe weren't fully fleshed out. And that's what we're seeing right now. And on the other front, his whole sort of anger at Boba Fett. Like, first of all, the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian are not a backdoor pilot for Boba Fett. They're the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian, and there's clearly a story there about Mandalore and the Darksaber and Bo-Katan and Din Djarin that has been started in Clone Wars and continues to go. The fact that we got Boba to come back and become an interesting character in his own right, despite what happened in Empire and Jedi, is just good storytelling. So I think that Scott Mendelson is someone, it seems, and you know him and I don't, it seems like he very much likes Last Jedi, which I respect because I too very much like Last Jedi. But I think that just because you like that Rian Johnson did something different with Star Wars does not mean that you should automatically crap on the people that are taking all the pieces that exist in Star Wars and doing interesting things with them.
I also would like to encourage writers to stop saying most people, most of them, most. You have no fucking clue. You have not. You have not spoken to most people or all the people so that you can delineate the actual usage of the word most or a majority. And lumping in people, even when you say a majority or a most, you're saying essentially the people who do feel this way are also the same people. You're lumping the people who do not want to push these women off social media or go after these women with the same people who did. And I think that's irresponsible of him to write that down. But look, Scott is a very intelligent guy. I've had great back and forths with him. He can defend a point like few others. And, it's a great debate to have. I thought he made some good points in the article as well. But I think overall, some of these points I think are a bit unfair to certain characters and to those of us who love those characters. Shan?
Yeah, I mean, I like when these movies are being made, especially thinking back to like what Boba Fett's first appearance was in the holiday special, and they had no idea how popular this character was going to be. I mean, hence why he went out the way he went out in Return of the Jedi. Same thing with Darth Maul. Like, we look at it now, and that first trailer for Episode 1 came out, and it's just like, holy crap, this guy's awesome. Oh, why'd you kill him? Darth Maul, Clone Wars was Lucas approved. I mean, when they came with the idea that like, hey, let's bring Darth Maul back, let's give him a robotic lower half. That was Lucas approved. I mean, you're kind of making these things in a vacuum. And so when you see like, oh, they really like this, what can we do with this character that's interesting? They made Darth Maul freaking awesome in the Clone Wars. So much so that if Solo had been more successful, he was probably going to be the bad guy in future Solo installments. So, yeah.
I think you actually make a really good point on Darth Maul, because I think that with Darth Maul, you can see the end result of. It would have been easy to say when they brought Darth Maul back in Clone Wars, that's fan service. Here's a character that fans in general thought was pretty cool looking, and he just died right away and got chopped in half, and George Lucas fucked up. And so bringing this character back from the dead, literally back from getting chopped in half, oh, that's so fan servicey. But you're exactly right. This is the team that took him from what he was in Episode 1 and overshot that so far to turn him into one of the more complex characters in Star Wars. And I think that's what we're seeing now. I went to the Twitter, Johnny, that you reposted, because I wanted to give him credit. At AD_Strider, Alden Diaz. Because one of the points that he made that I think is really maybe the best point that he made in his sort of his Twitter thread about why the Luke that we see at the end of Mandalorian absolutely syncs up with the Luke that we see in Last Jedi, is that, as I was saying, this is the Luke that this dude is 5 years away from bringing his father back from the dark side. Like, the dude redeemed Darth Vader. He's feeling pretty awesome right now. He's in a good spot. And so he's going to go around and get these Jedi, and he's like, this is my job, this is my responsibility, I'm going to do this. But it's very telling that Ahsoka Tano, 3 episodes earlier, refused to train Grogu.
Yes.
And I didn't think about this until he made the point. So props to you, dude, because this is a great point, which is Luke is not at a point where he has seen the really bad shit. That's coming for him. That's coming with Ben Solo. That's coming from the Knights of Ren destroying his temple and him having to deal with that. Ahsoka has seen her master go down the dark path. She has gotten kicked out of the Jedi Temple. She was there when the clones turned on her.
Yeah.
She had to fight the people that she had fought with. Like, she's been through shit. She is further down her journey as a Jedi and is not at the point where she's going to take on Grogu and train him. Luke is, because he is not at that point of wisdom yet. He gets to that wisdom later on in Last Jedi when he's not, I'm not going to fight, I'm out of this. And it's very telling and interesting that the same people that think that Luke was bad for making that choice in Last Jedi think Ahsoka is fine for saying she's not going to train Grogu. But you're seeing these people at different points. So I think, again, this team has shown through animation and live action, they know how to take characters that we know and love, mix them with characters that we've never met before, like Fennec Shand, and create something wholly new. So I think that we're on the road to seeing them do with this new trilogy. For those that aren't the biggest fans of the new trilogy as a whole, they're doing and I've said this on our review shows, they're doing the exact same thing they did with Clone Wars. They're filling in the gaps, and we're going to get to a point 2 years from now, 4 years from now, 9 years from now, where we look back and we go, shit, they made it all work. Luke, all of it.
Yeah, and to give credit, Alden Diaz is the co-host of Octo Radio, which is a Star Wars podcast. You want to hear more of what he's got to say, and he's also an executive producer of iHeartRadio's Totally 939 Miami. His thread is a pretty incredible thread, and it's something that, like, when my issues with Last Jedi are my issues with Last Jedi. But I thought it was still a very ballsy decision of Ryan to show you what happens to a man who was in his prime in the 20s and 30s, and stuff doesn't work out for him. And I think people got depressed to see that. People didn't want to see that. People were upset to see that. But in real life, that does happen. Michael Jordan came back and played for the Wizards, and it was terrible. Like the people who used to be in their prime and then confront getting older, and they see the errors of what they did. They see the hubris of what they did, the arrogance, the cockiness. Remember, Luke is a headstrong, stubborn guy, and he goes and does things. He leaves Yoda's training to go and save his friends, even though he shouldn't. He does what he wants to do, and sometimes what you realize in life is that has consequences for you as you get older. Trust me, I know from my own personal experience, stuff I did in my 20s and 30s that I thought may be cock of the walk, you pay for it in your 40s and older. You know, those are the things that you learn as you get older. So I thought Alden's entire thread spoke to me on a lot of levels, as Logan did, as a film, as Logan did. And for those of you who are still young, you don't get it yet. I'm not trying to school you like an older man or whatever. I'm just telling you, you don't get it yet. As you get older, you'll see, you'll understand, and you'll have a different perspective and maybe a greater appreciation for Ryan's decision. That doesn't mean I like the movie. It means that I respected the ballsy decision to show a hero who is confronting some of the damage from the past. Yeah.
I hope when Shannon and I are as old as you, we're as wise as you are, John Rocha.
You know what?
But that's years away from now.
Years from now. It's so far. So far.
All just youngins. Yeah. Come and find me on my island.
Just picture you in your outlaw hat, like just throwing a microphone over your shoulder.
There was a time, there was, the outlaw, Schmodown legend. Yeah. It'll be like that. Come train me.
Yeah. Look,
anyway, any final words on this? Because we're at already an hour and 5. We'll wrap it up. Yep.
My final words are literally that I think that, obviously Star Wars is a fandom that has very strong opinions, and like looking at the Twitter thread, Alden's Twitter thread, combined with Scott Mendelson's article, there is a wide variety of reactions to this. But I would say that for me personally, I feel like for the first time in a long time, I feel like we're in completely safe hands when it comes to I feel right now about Star Wars the way that I feel about Kevin Feige and the Marvel team. I feel like they can do. They have a lot of leeway right now to do a lot of things because I think they've got a plan and they know where they're going. And that's how I feel about Marvel, and that is now how I feel about Star Wars. So That's my final word. I'm excited to see what comes next.
Shan?
Yeah, I love that people have passionate opinions, and just because you might not agree with someone's opinion doesn't mean they're wrong. Opinions aren't wrong or right; they're opinions. And even though someone might not agree with you, don't be disrespectful. Don't forget, as passionate as you can feel about Star Wars, don't forget what brought you to Star Wars, and it was that it brought you joy. So have those opinions, have those debates, and at the end of the day, shake hands and be friends.
Exactly. Discussion and debate is great. Certainly, we've gotten heated at times here on the Geek Buddies, but we are friends afterwards, and that's part of the game. Because you know what? These are things that we enjoy doing. We enjoy getting into. They teach us lessons. They're so much fun to explore and take our minds off some of the craziness of our own lives. And I understand that kind of passion people have. Trust me, I know. But it's great to have discussion, but always create space for respectful discourse, understanding discourse at the end. And just be like, you know what? You don't have to win the argument. Sometimes it's just about being heard. So hear the other side if you want to be heard as well. That's important. So, all right, that's it for us here on the Geek Buddies. Thank you all so much for downloading this on the Geek Buddies podcast stream or a feed rather, or watching us here on YouTube. Shannon, what do we got to tell them?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's @geek_buddies, on Instagram @the_geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's @Shannon_McClung, on Instagram @Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you would like to follow Mr. Vogel, it is @MK2, and if you would like to follow Mr. Rocha, it is @Rocha Says.
Mikey?
Look, if you like the prequels, if you're an original trilogy person, if you like the new trilogy, if you only like the animation, if you know Star Wars only through the Lego specials, you have a home here at the Geek Buddies. We like all of you. We like the fact that all of you like Star Wars differently, and we also like that you like us. So we want to continue on. We want to get more people watching, so thank you all for doing it. If you have not, definitely hit the like button below. Definitely subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw page, where there is all kinds of content, not just geeky, as he said. There's also sports, there's wrestling, there's politics. He is the Renaissance man of YouTube. So definitely check all of that out. Leave some comments below, whether you agree with us, disagree with us, yell at me for saying that the new trilogy is bad. We get it all down there. We respond to most of it. Yep. And then the most that you can do is, if you're listening to us on Anchor or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, rank us there, give us some stars, leave a comment there. It helps us go up in the rankings so more people find us there. And absolutely take this video, retweet this video, post it on Facebook, send it to your geeky friends. Hey, Merry Christmas. It's the Geek Buddies. It's a free Christmas present. You can put us right in somebody's stocking, and they are going to love you for it, because they might not agree with all of us, but they'll like at least one of us. It's usually mostly Shannon. Mostly Shannon. Mostly Shannon. So Merry Christmas from the Geek Buddies. We hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful holiday.
Yep. Happy holidays to you all, and thank you so much. You know, as we're turning the page on 2020. Next week we'll do our kind of end of the year episode there for 2021. But we can't thank you enough for coming aboard with us on this journey, and it's growing. And thank you so much for being a part of it. All right, we'll talk to you all next time with another brand new episode of the
Geek
Buddies.